What's good? Welcome in. What's happening? You're watching the 49ers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for watching and tuning in and supporting the show. Coming your way. Going to take all of your questions from our loyal subscribers. So let's kick it off with this one coming in from Jonathan Lamont. Who is the weakest link on the offensive line? A couple of potential weak links, Jonathan. That's a really good question, actually. Is Aaron Banks going to be the starting left guard? I think so. Is Jake Brendel going to be the starting center? Maybe that was the plan all along. And then who's going to start at right guard? Is it going to be Daniel Brunskill? Is it going to be Jalen Moore? At right tackle, is it Mike McGlinchey? Like, all of those guys outside of Trent Williams could be weak links along this offensive line. I don't think that's crazy to say. The offensive line is a big concern for me. Recently, some executives were polled, and they put the Niners offensive line at 14th in the NFL. Has to be of the utmost importance to do everything that San Francisco can do to protect Trey Lance. And if that offensive line is struggling, that will not be good for this offense, especially in the ground game, considering the importance of it. Edward Gaines with this one, over-under for Trey Lance, 20 touchdowns passing and 5 rushing. Well, he had a couple of rushing touchdowns last year, right? And a couple of throwing touchdowns, of course. I think that Lance will have more than 20 touchdowns passing. My predictions have kind of fluctuated for him. I think that if he throws for like 28 touchdowns and runs for 20, that would be, a pretty good combination and kind of offers a different threat to opposing defenses as compared to Garoppolo. I think the offense with Trey, more explosive. They throw the ball long a little bit more. They push the ball downfield. And the running game can succeed because of the dual threat that Trey Lance does possess. Now, of course, going back to that previous question from Jonathan Lamont, nothing will happen if the offensive line is porous. That guy, pal, what's the latest with DK Metcalf? He asked that. Could we trade for him? I don't think so, nor do I think that Seattle is going to trade DK Metcalf at all, let alone to San Francisco. If you want to pay Deebo Samuel, then you don't trade for DK Metcalf, because they're both in similar situations from that same draft class, as well as Terry McLaurin, right? They're all looking, going into the final year of their rookie contracts, for a contract extension. So if you want Deebo, you pay him. You don't trade for DK. Now, if you want to move on from Deebo Samuel and you're desperate for a number one wide receiver, DK Metcalf could be that guy, and more of a prototypical wide receiver as compared to Deebo Samuel, who has the running ability to his game that DK Metcalf does not. So I don't think the Niners are going to trade for DK Metcalf, nor do I think that Seattle would trade him. That guy, pal, also with this, could we sign J.C. Tretter? I said this back a couple of weeks ago. I think J.C. Tretter would be a good addition for this 49ers offense, but I think the plan all along potentially has been Jake Brendel. Chris Forster, offensive line coach, used to coach for the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, he was let go there for infamous reasons. You can look it up, but he comes to San Francisco, and he coached Jake Brendel when he was with Miami. He's raved about him. And if the 49ers didn't address center during the draft or in free agency, they had to have had an indication that Alex Mack was going to retire. That tells me that the lack of planning during the draft and free agency, they were comfortable with Jake Brendel. Now, Daniel Brunskill can also play a little bit of center. Those are your two options in my opinion. If not, then I would like J.C. Tretter. He's a very good player and one of the best centers in the game over the last couple of years. Now, here in the summer, the weather obviously warming up no matter where you are. A lot of people are getting outside. You're busting a sweat. You're getting active. Over the weekend, I embarked on a couple of physical challenges, and I want to see what you guys have done when it comes to your hardest physical activity. So on Saturday, it was a record high here in Dallas, Texas. I ran in 102-degree weather. It felt like 109 at the time. And then the following day, I ran 9 miles. I think the 9-mile run, one of my hardest physical activities I've ever done, but I want to hear from you. Are there marathon runners out there? Have you embarked on some really long swims? How about some lifting workouts? Have you played football and you thought that was an arduous activity? Let me know. I kind of want to gauge more personality from the audience in the comment section right now. You let me know down below. Julian Rost with this. Going into the season, any concerns on Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch continuing their jobs for the future? No. Talking about a Final Four team and moving ahead, I was asked this question on Call-In, Am I concerned about the Niners moving forward? Because when they have this Super Bowl window, sometimes teams do fizzle out. And you go back to the Harbaugh days, an older team that all of a sudden was a dumpster fire with Jim Tomsula as well as Chip Kelly. Then they bring in Kyle Shanahan to build the franchise up from the ground up. For San Francisco, though, I don't have those concerns. And Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have put them in a position to compete right now, but also in the future, right? I mean, you look across the entire roster, Trey Lance is 22 years old. You have a stable of young backs. Trent Williams still has really good football left. Offensive line, you drafted some players there recently. Aaron Banks, Jalen Moore, Spencer Burford. Like, you have young players there. Debo's young. Ayuk's young. George Kittle, injury prone. Still young, though. Jawan Jennings, Danny Gray, young players. Ray McLeod, still young as well. Then defensively, Nick Bosa, Eric Armstead, Jimmy Ward, Fred Warner. I wouldn't identify any of those guys as older. Charvarius Ward, young. Emmanuel Mosley, still ripe age. Ambry Thomas is as well going into year 2. I think the Niners are set up nicely to compete in the NFC over the next couple of years, and that is tied to Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch as we circle back to the question. Lil Dude, the only two factors that can hinder us from being a top 10 offense is the offensive line and Trey reading different defenses in real time. Yeah, obviously, if Trey Lance can't dissect, break down, and decipher defenses, it's going to be a little bit of a concern. Quarterbacks don't last long if they can't go through their progressions and keep the defense guessing. You look at Colin Kaepernick as a good example of that. First couple of years, he was lightning, right? He was tremendous. Defenses hadn't really seen a player like that with the arm strength and the legs going back to like Michael Vick. I mean, he offered such a dynamic ability at that quarterback position. But over time, defenses were able to adjust. They changed their defensive schemes to draw up defenses to really hinder Colin Kaepernick and counter what he did well. I thought Colin Kaepernick also lacked a lot of touch on his balls, and that is certainly a little bit of a problem. So that's could be an issue for Trey Lance moving forward as well. If you're pumped for the 2022 season, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Look, I know that we're in the doldrums of June right now. Things are really slow, but think about this, right? Training camp is getting underway in about a month and change. That means that the regular season right around the corner with preseason happening before that. Everybody should be excited for San Francisco coming up. If you are, tickle that thumbs up icon. Also, I am the host of Golden State Warriors Today. So right now, as we're in the doldrums of the NFL offseason, the NBA offseason is really picking up steam, and it's about to get even more popping. Why is that? NBA draft coming up on Thursday, June 23rd. After that, it is NBA free agency, and I am the host of Golden State Warriors Today. So if you're a fan of the Niners, living in the Bay Area or beyond, and you root on San Francisco teams, I am the host of our Warriors channel. You can subscribe by going to youtube.com/WarriorsTV. Really good follower base over there of more than 30,000 subscribers. We're going to continue to grow. As for our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, I am also leading our NBA draft coverage, and I hope that you tune in on the 23rd, youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. On our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, we eclipsed 300,000 subscribers, and I've been diving into the tape for all of these NBA draft prospects. I will relay all of my thoughts on them throughout the NBA draft, as we'll be live, myself and Harrison Graham, every pick for both rounds. Make sure you subscribe and join us. Cody M12, would you trade for Saquon Barkley? Bang, bang, Niner gang. I would not. I don't like paying a large sum to running backs. And Saquon Barkley, Marsh, you're the host of New York Giants now, $10 million in base salary this upcoming year on that rookie contract, so he's really expensive. He's been injury prone. If he didn't deal with some of those injuries, he'd be one of the most sought-after weapons in the NFL. I'm fascinated to see what he's going to do in 2022 after a couple of down years. But San Francisco, their feelings have been known throughout the draft. They drafted Trey Sermon 2 years ago, as well as Elijah Mitchell. This year, it's Ty Davis-Price. If you bring in Saquon Barkley, you're basically throwing away 2 third-round picks because Saquon Barkley has to get consistent snaps. So I would not trade for Saquon, but he's been rumored to be on the trade block in New York. Chua Lore, Should the 49ers address a kicker? No. Robbie Gould was sensational last year. Mitch Wishnowsky was also pretty good. I don't think that's a position of need for the Niners going into this upcoming season. Robbie Gould in the playoffs has been nearly unconscious. So I don't think the Niners need to address a kicker unless an injury happens, of course, right? And last year that did happen for a brief amount of time for Robbie Gould. But addressing a kicker, that is not on the need list for San Francisco as of right now. Maybe you're excited to watch Robbie Gould because kickers are people too. If that's the case, let me know down below. But who are you most excited to watch this year? Let me know. Drop me a name in the comment section. Also, make sure you give me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. Love chopping it up, interacting with the Niner gang. I asked you for your best physical challenges in the comment section. Somebody just said sex in 100-degree heat. I asked for your creativity. You certainly gave it to me. Thanks as always, Faithful, for showing up and showing out.